Hello and welcome to my special lesson on high-octane words from skipthedate.com. Here I want to share with you the powerful and effective words I use that get the results I want. You could think of high-octane words as power words or wonder words. There's lots of different names out there for them. They're basically words that are really effective and kind of get us amazing results. And the right conversation makes life so much easier. Just today, I was using my power words to get this amazing girl to send me these awesome pictures and kind of talk about meeting up and having an amazing connection in our first bonding session. You know, have you ever said something to a woman and out of nowhere she's just really offended and you don't realize what you did wrong, and it turns out you just said one wrong word and that bridge was burned forever? She's so mad, and that's kind of it. I want you to think of our power words, our high-octane words, as the opposite of that. It's a word that can give you massive positive results. So just like we have words that kind of cause massive problems, we have massive, amazing, forward-moving words. And there's some key elements for finding and discovering your own high-octane words. And don't worry, I'm going to show you a ton of examples from throughout this course of high-octane words and a couple of ones that you can use in almost any situation. What I try to do is find words that get me amazing results. And I have 4 simple kind of techniques I use to discover high-octane words, and you can discover your own as you kind of experience more and more bonding and kind of emailing with girls and connecting with women. You'll see what works and what doesn't for you. But the 4 things I really look for are non-specific words. And these are words that could apply to anyone. These are words like everybody or people. You know, you can talk to a girl and be like, girls always say this or girls always say that. I don't want words that really have a deep, powerful meaning. So I don't want to, you is the exact opposite of a power word. If I say, you are mean, by using the word you, I kind of take away all the power and it's too specific. I want the opposite end of the spectrum. I want it really non-specific, really generic, and really almost empty of meaning, because that kind of gives her the opportunity to interpret her own way, and that's what I want to happen. So flawed context, and this is something that doesn't fit into the situation. So I'm using a word in a place where it's not really normally used, or it's not something you expect to use. It's kind of like if you use a word like potty instead of bathroom. It's out of context because only children say that. So you're kind of breaking the rules of when the word is used. I love out-of-use words. These are words that are no longer used all the time. And sometimes words go out of use really, really quickly. In a couple of my examples, I'm going to talk about words that went out of use 5 or 10 years ago. So the words that I used for a really long time. And a great example of this, and a really cool way to do it, is all the different words that we've kind of used to try and replace cool in the short term. You know, when I was in high school, we probably went through 50 different words that had that meaning. You know, in the 80s, people used to say bad after the Michael Jackson album came out and that awesome song came out instead of good. And that was one of the first really big transitions. Nobody says it anymore. But if you watch The Wizard, a great movie from when I was a kid, he pulls on the power glove for Nintendo and says, "It's so bad." And people don't say that anymore. So that's a great kind of example of bringing an old word back that I love to do. And then, like I said, we really want to leave a chance for her to fill in the blanks. I want the question open to multiple interpretations so that she kind of tells me what she's thinking just by how she responds to my statement or question. So these are really the 4 elements I look for. So basically just think of words that people don't use a lot, don't use in this type of situation, don't use anymore. And all of them are really words where she can kind of fill in the blanks or create her own ideas and tell you a lot about her. So let's go through some power examples that you're going to see throughout this course. If you've been through all the other videos, you've already seen all these phrases. So I want to talk about now why specifically they're so powerful and make it even easier for you. The powerful words, the high-octane words are white and everything else is blue. Here's an example. I really like your style. If you like mine too, ... So I want you to think right now how you would interpret if I said this to you. If I walked up to you and I said, "I really like your style," what does that mean? If you're thinking about it right now, your answer could be anything from how you dress to the shirt you're wearing to your personality to how you project yourself. There's a lot of interpretations, and everyone watching this video, each of you is interpreting it in a slightly different way, and that's great. So just like you interpret it differently, women are doing the same thing. I love to send this in my opening emails, my opening messages, and you can use any different word here besides style. You could say fashion, presentation, personality, Because there, people always put in what they want. You can say to a beautiful woman, I really like how you express your personality. And she will assume you're talking about how good looking she is. So she takes your generic compliment, translates it into what she wants to hear. And that's what's awesome. I get tons of responses to this style. People think I'm talking about the totality of their life, their hobbies, their personality, the way they dress, what they do. All the kind of things. And the way a woman responds to this question or this statement tells me what's important to her. Because she will take this and choose, okay, here's the 10 possible meanings of style. This is the one that's the best for me, so that's what I'll respond to. That's how people respond to high-octane words. My next example is I love to start off emails, and you'll see my second email always starts with, hey cutie. And so does when I go off the websites and I'm emailing or texting. I say, hey cutie or hey sweetie, because people don't really say these anymore, and they don't have a lot of meanings. You could call a kid a cutie. You're like, oh, hey cutie. Some people say it about dogs. Oh, you're such a cutie. So it's not a heavy word. Most people don't say, this is my cutie, my girlfriend, right? So it's a little bit out of context. It's a little non-traditional. What happens is girls interpret this however they want. For girls looking for a total no strings attached relationship, she interprets it as I'm saying that she's attractive. And if a girl's looking for something serious, she'll interpret it as I'm looking for a real relationship and I see some potential within her. So I'm kind of giving her the chance to interpret the word however she wants to. The next thing I like to say is, I'm looking for something like when we are together, we are together. Girls love this sentence, and the reason is, it's all power words. I'm looking for something. That's the most meaningless sentence you could ever say. Of course you're looking for something. But what are you looking for? The word looking has to have a target, right? I'm looking for what? A book? I'm looking for love. I'm looking for a girl. I'm looking for a relationship. So something is a word completely open to interpretation. And then look at the rest of the sentence. When we are together, we are together. That's not a sentence. When the sky is blue, it's blue. When it's a dog, it's a dog. Do you see how it's an empty meaning? But the word together, what does that mean? It can mean when it's two people in the same room together, in the same elevator together, in a relationship, in true love, going through life together. See how wide the spectrum of interpretation of together is? That's why it's so great when used in this context, when used in this sentence. And I love using it because girls respond really well. When we are apart, we do our own thing. That's the exact opposite, okay? When we're together, we're together. When we're apart. It's basically what I'm saying here. In fact, if it wouldn't become too obvious, I could even say, when we're together, and when we're apart. And girls would love that. But so I'm saying when we're apart, we do our own thing, which is of course true because we're separate. We're doing two different things. We can't do the same thing if we're not together. We lead our own lives. That is, again, a sentence without meaning. It's just a power phrase because everyone leads their own lives. I don't lead your life. That's impossible. You can't lead my life. You're not me. We lead our own lives. So we're giving lots of opportunity to self-interpret and to kind of hear what she wants to hear. And here's how I describe a relationship. No jealousy, no stress, just casual and pleasant. This describes every single person's ideal relationship. Nobody wants a relationship with jealousy. Nobody wants a relationship with stress. Nobody wants a relationship that's not casual. Okay? When you think of a relationship that's not casual, if you watch The Big Bang Theory where the guy has a contract with his girlfriend describing how often they have to go out and what everything means and all those things, that's the opposite of casual. So anything other than that can be interpreted as casual. My friend who's married, I was just talking to him today and I said, wouldn't you describe your marriage as casual and pleasant? He goes, yeah, of course. We get along really well. It's a non-business relationship, so it's casual, and everybody says the relationship's pleasant. So again, what we're doing is providing people the opportunity to get excited by what we're saying because they're filling in their own interpretations. It's almost like we're creating a Mad Libs for them to fill out with their deepest desires. And that's what we want to do. We're giving girls the opportunity to really see and hear what they want to see. And then when I'm asking for confirmation or asking for her opinion, I say, how does that sound? And again, sound has a lot of meanings. You look it up in the dictionary, there's like 50 meanings. So she might interpret tone of voice, the way I have language, my accent, how loud I'm talking, how she thinks it means, how excited she is about the idea. How does that sound? She can answer hundreds of different ways. And that's what I want. I want to provide her the opportunity to give me more information with her answer. You can also say something like, how does that make you feel? Which is a little bit stronger, a little bit less of a power word because it's more specific. But again, people will interpret it in different ways. Oh, I feel hungry. I feel tired. I feel cold. I feel like I'm in love with you. I feel like you're the one. Again, there's a spectrum with feel. Same thing with sound. I prefer to use sound, but you can say the exact same thing. How does that make you feel? Or how do you feel? And people give really cool answers. Now, when I'm trying to find out and ping for bisexuality, this is one of my favorite questions. Are you attracted to girls or do you only like boys? What's great about this question is that I'm using two words out of context. If I walked up to you and I said, I'm really attracted to little girls, see how it sounds creepy? It's out of context. But when I'm asking the girl to give the answer, it's almost impossible for her to say that she's only attracted to boys. This really opens up the opportunity and really pushes. 9 out of 10 girls will kind of admit to a level of bisexuality from this question. If I said, are you attracted to women? Period. It loses its meaning because it's not enough out of context. By saying girls and boys, it adds an element of innocence. It makes it a little less heavy. You know, instead of saying something really intense like, do you like fucking women? Right? We want to be at the opposite of the spectrum from that intensity. We want to make it light, pleasant, and easy to respond to. And do you only like boys? Almost sounds like, that's all you like? What's wrong with you? So we're kind of creating an opportunity. We have a really powerful question here. And the reason the words are so effective is because they're open to interpretation. They're a little bit out of context. And it's a little non-traditional. Here's an example of a word that people don't use anymore. When I was in high school, people used to say bi-curious all the time. Oh, he's bi-curious, she's bi-curious. I used to get asked all the time if I was bi-curious. This was kind of how gay men would ping me for homosexuality when I was younger. People don't say that anymore. People don't really use the word bi-curious, so it's really cool. I'm kind of bringing back a word. People still know what it means. It's not that long ago. It's not a word from 5,000 years ago. It's a word from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Would you say you are more bisexual or bi-curious? Both answers are good answers. I'm giving her a spectrum question, and anywhere on the spectrum is something I want. Oh, you're only bi-curious? That's great. You know, we can take things slow and figure it out and kind of explore your sexuality together. Oh, you're bisexual? That's awesome. Let's go find another girl together. Basically, in both questions, let's go find another girl, right? Both answers are great. And why it's so powerful? Because we're a little bit using a word that people don't use all the time. If I said, are you more bisexual or a lesbian? It doesn't work anymore. If you take away the high-octane word, the sentence becomes ineffective. Here's a question I ask all the time when I'm texting girls to find out if we're going to have sex on the first date. What are you comfortable / not comfortable with? You're going to get basically a couple of categories of answers. 1 out of 10 women or 2 out of 10 women will say, what do you mean? Comfortable with what? They'll kind of choose not to interpret. Their response will be, they're thinking it's a sexual question, but they're not comfortable enough with their sexuality to say that. And so I could follow it up with in the bedroom. You know, what are you comfortable, not comfortable with in the bedroom is an easy way to say it. And again, you're kind of just figuring things out. And this is where some girls give a really graphic answer, like I do this, this, and this, and I don't do that. Some girls respond with that right away. And some girls say, oh, I want to meet at a restaurant before we have our first date. So some girls interpret this as a sexual question and some don't. Unless I add in the bedroom, it's not a sexual question. This is a really generic question. What are you comfortable or not comfortable with? Well, I'm not really comfortable with racism, right? That's a simple answer that's totally accurate and you could do it. But she's creating the context, and the context of her mind. If she gives any type of sexual question or asks if it's a sexual question, guess what? You know she's already thinking about having sex with you. Because otherwise, why would she give a sexual answer? So the answer doesn't even matter. It's just the type of answer gives us information about what she's thinking. She's responding to the power of this high-octane word. Because how often do you say that to people? Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? We don't really say that anymore. That's why I love words like this that have fallen a little bit out of use so I can use them however I want. Are you comfortable being physical? Normally, if someone said this to me, I would think they want to fight me. It's about to get physical. Let's get physical. But again, we use it a little bit out of context and it's a sexual question. This is my way of saying, are you going to sleep with me on the first date? Simple question, are you comfortable with your sexuality? I'm only interested in women who are comfortable with their sexuality or who don't have any weird sexual hang-ups. That's a lot of similar phrasing that I use to kind of get girls comfortable with being sexual and kind of screen out prudes like we talk about. Screen out the girls that don't have sex on the first date. This is a great way to do it. Comfortable really doesn't have a heavy meaning. It's a little bit open to interpretation, and so is physical. Physical has thousands of meanings. What is your ideal situation? What's your ideal relationship? What's your ideal man? All three of these questions are really good to ask. I love the first one. The first one's the most powerful because you could say, girls can say anything to that and you find out really the most. But some women don't interpret that. It's a little bit too free form. So then I say, they go, what do you mean situation? I go, relationship. And then I follow up with, what's your ideal man? Because then she says, this is the ideal man. This is who I'm attracted to. This is who I want you to be when we meet. Be this man and I'll sleep with you on the first date. So she's giving you the information about how to act in order to get what you want. And not in a negative way. I'm not saying that you can use this to manipulate her, but it's much easier to find out. If she goes, oh, I really like a guy who's serious all the time and really business oriented, then you know that you don't have to tell all your jokes. You can kind of use the business side of your personality. So it's not about changing your personality. It's about just knowing which foot to put forward. And these power questions are so effective. Here's a great one question I love to ask. Are you looking for love? I just asked a girl this today. Love has so many meanings. In Greek, there's like 15 different words for love. You know, brotherly love, love between a parent and their kids, love between best friends, love between a man and a woman, physical love, and a bunch more. Those are the 5 that I can remember from Greek. And study a lot of Greek in high school, just a little bit. So this question, right, are you looking for love, is so good. Number 1, are you looking for love? So what are you looking for? What does love mean to you? This really opens it for interpretation. Girls will answer with a really wide array of answers. I don't believe in love. I think a girl told me today, you don't find love, love finds you. I don't even know what that means. I just agreed with her. I go, great. So I know that she kind of doesn't take life that seriously and doesn't have any expectations. You really could find it a lot by using these high-octane words. Another great question is, are you open to something long-term? What does open mean? Are you closed to something long-term? What does something mean? What does long-term mean? I was talking to my friend today. I was kind of going over this lesson with him, wanted to kind of get a second opinion. And I said, you've been married for 22 years. Would you say you're in a long-term relationship? And he goes, I've never used that phrase. We don't actually say long-term relationship. Even though we see it in books and we see it in a lot of self-help books and things like that, it kind of is in this public consciousness that way. So girls have this idea of long-term relationship, but they never say that. The only other place you see it is online dating profiles. I'm looking for something long-term, right? So we don't want to sound like that, but we're using a word that girls are used to hearing in this type of context, and we're twisting a little bit. Are you open to something long-term? What is something? Are you open to having sex with me once a year long-term? That could be that fill-in, right? Are you open to living with me for the rest of your life? Again, all these different things. Are you open to having an affair with me for the next 3 months? That could be an interpretation of this. So she hears whatever she wants in this question, and she'll respond and give you an amazing answer. She's like, oh my gosh, he knows exactly what I want. Yes, I want true love in a long-term relationship. Now I've got 3 super words here that I think are a little bit of a bonus. You know, I kind of covered a lot of the high-octane words that you're going to see throughout this course that I use a lot. And these are words that you can make your heart melt with. The first is imagine. Imagine it's 6 months from now. We're sitting on a couch together. You have the remote control in your hand. What TV show are we watching? This is called a future progression. And the reason is we call it that. It's a fancy name for we're talking about the future and imagining us together, right? So I'm kind of creating in her mind the vision of us as a couple in 6 months. That tells her that I think of us as a long-term relationship, that I could see us together for a long time, and I want her to kind of imagine the emotions of that moment, create that emotion. So imagine's a very, very powerful word that you can use in questions. Imagine that we're on a trip together in a week. Where in the world are we? You can find out where she wants to go, kind of open up her imaginations. What are you passionate about? Passion is such a powerful word. I talk about this in all my courses. I think it's one of the most important attractive traits. People with passion are attractive. So say, what are you passionate about? And she'll tell you amazing things. For some women, if she's a doctor, it might be her work, but a lot of girls, it'll be charity work, it'll be changing lives. You'll find out the best part of her personality by saying, what are you passionate about? What do you love to do? Let's not talk about work. What do you love to do? What's your passion? And she's going to unlock and open up to you something really amazing. And then if you want to find out kind of a little deeper what she thinks about what excites her, what gets her brain ticking, what fascinates you? What do you find fascinating? And I find some nature documentaries fascinating. I love actually watching people dig for gold on Discovery Channel and all those channels. I watch every digging for gold show there is. I find digging for gold fascinating. I can't explain why, because they never find that much gold. They're always struggling and all of that stuff, but they're so excited. I think it's because they have a passion for what they're doing. It's so high risk and all that stuff that I find it fascinating. So I tried to be quick so that I didn't take up too much of your time, but this is kind of the idea of high octane words. These are words that get powerful responses and kind of have heavy emotional responses and kind of get you what you want because they're open to her interpretation. That's really what makes a high octane word. It kind of causes her to react in a way that we want. It gives a desired reaction. So these are high octane words. I'm Jonathan from skipthedate.com. Thank you so much for listening.